I don't know about your morning drop off, Laura, but mine has been challenging for both of my boys. So the morning drop off was usually, the mom guilt kicked in when I had to let go. They are crying and I had to leave and make it in time for our morning meetings. And it's just this feeling of mom guilt, the separation anxiety of the kids. And I think everything add up together just really set the tone for our days. So that is one thing that's an emotional drain to me. If that's a good drop off, I had a good day. If that's a bad drop off, I live with that guilt. And at the same time, when my kids grow older, I was looking for helpful resources that can help facilitate a conversation between me and them about, what does mommy do after she disappears for the day, right?
Welcome to You Belong in the C-Suite podcast. You are ambitious in life and in your career, but something is missing. You want to bring more of your passion to what you do. Because let's be honest, you pour a ton into your work, and it needs to mean more. I'm your host, Laura Eigel. I'm a mom, wife, PhD, coach, advocate, introvert, and indoor rowing fanatic. I'm passionate about living a life that's in line with my values. We'll give you the actionable tips and tools you need to lead with your values, make a difference, and have career success. The world needs more diversity and authenticity in the top jobs at organizations. Your leadership belongs there. You belong in the C-Suite. What gets you up in the morning? What drives your decisions? What do you stand for? No idea, not even sure where to start? I use my values to guide my life and career. It's the basis of how I've built boundaries for myself and stuck to them. Are you ready to dig into what matters to you? Go to thecatchgroup.com to download your free values worksheet. That's thecatchgroup.com to download your free values worksheet to get to your core values and take action on what matters most. Welcome to the You Belong in the C-Suite podcast. I'm so excited for you to hear this conversation with Jossy Lee. Jossy is an MIT trained entrepreneur and the creator of Mommy Goes to Work, a new book series that celebrates working mothers and makes drop-offs easier, one story at a time. She is currently on the founding team building a new middle and high school in the greater Boston area, New England Innovation Academy, the nation's first school using human-centered design to prepare the next generation of innovators. We discussed how we met, how her training has shaped how she solves problems and innovates, and her new book series and the story behind its inception. Jossy is an inspiring example of creating something that didn't exist when she needed it most, and now we can all benefit from it. Let's get started. Well, welcome to the You Belong in the C-Suite podcast. I'm so excited to have you on, Jossy.
Oh, thank you, Laura, for having me. I'm super excited too.
And this is just such an important topic and everything that you're doing. But before we talk about and get into your story, I'd love to tell everybody how we met, if that's okay with you.
Yes, let's do it.
So in my previous role, I got the opportunity to come up to MIT for a strategy session, I think it was. And I got to meet you there. And we were, I think, the only two women in a room full of other leaders. And we were walking on the way to lunch, maybe, or a campus tour or something. And we immediately just started talking. And we immediately started talking about motherhood and traveling. And, I think we both had boys and all of those things.
Yes, exactly. I remember that day though. It's a typical Boston winter day. It was cold out there. And I remember me and my colleagues, so I was an advisor at MIT Open Learning. I remember me and my colleagues went downstairs to welcome your crew. And yes, we are the only two women in a group of, I think maybe 10 people, 10 leaders. And I think that's a very familiar situation where female leaders will find themselves in a group of leadership meeting. Usually they are the minority there. So yes, you make me feel welcome, actually, Laura, immediately, even though that was my place.
Well, you made me feel welcome. And
Oh, thank
and
you.
it was great to, to have a friendly face in some of
Yeah,
those meetings. You just never know who you'll connect with. And it was just
yeah.
a blessing to connect with you then. And now we're in different places and doing different things. And so I'm just so excited that we're able to continue our connection and our partnership.
Definitely. I always feel like, the thing that I cherish the most about is the people I get to meet along the journey.
Mm-hmm.
Those friendship will really go a long way, personally and professionally. So I'm so grateful that we reconnected in this
Yeah.
setting too.
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk about all of the things that you're up to. So before we get into all of the specifics on the book, I'd love for you to share your journey and your story with everyone. Can you do a little bit more of an introduction of your career story?
Yes, I'm more than happy to. So currently, I'm building a new school and developing a new book series. So the new school is called New England Innovation Academy. It's a 6th to 12th grade school where the first human-centered design school prepare the next generation of innovators right here in the greater Boston area. So I'm a founding member of this. We've been planning the school for 3 years, and then we just opened this fall with 75 students who we call innovators. And then also simultaneously, I'm launching and developing my book series for working mothers, their families, and the people who love them. It's a book series called Mommy Goes to Work. It's to celebrate working mothers and to make drop-off easier, one story at a time. So, and before the book and the school, both are my passion meets purpose. I was really fortunate to have this career as employee number one. Originally from Taiwan, right out of college, my first job was employee number one of the first social venture fund in Greater China. So we invest in business with a social mission. And then that brought me to MIT. So I had my MBA there, and MIT is known for innovation and entrepreneurship. So while at MIT, I focused on learning those two concentration and also co-founded MIT Sloan Design Club to introduce design thinking into the MIT community and to enable MIT students to solve problems more creatively. So after that, I have been on the new product, new venture team for mostly education and business related organizations. So EF Education First, I was director of product innovation there. It's the largest international education company, and Chinese, an award-winning startup that revolutionized how people learn Chinese. And then open learning, I was advisor, MIT Bootcamp, the MIT's program for entrepreneurs, global entrepreneurs. That's where me and you, Laura, we met. So I was really growing the kind of a school project about 3 years ago. A quick snapshot of who I am.
I love it. I love it. And I love that you used the phrase purpose and passion. And it really feels like that's what you're living. You're living your purpose and your passion.
Yeah.
You described yourself as an MIT trained entrepreneur. Can you tell me a little bit more about what that means?
Yes, I'm very proud of being part of the MIT community, and it certainly shaped me in the very significant way. I think from the mindset, believe in the scientific approach, the mindset. I will give you an example. I think sometimes entrepreneur fall into this trap of I'm doing a product launch, so let me launch the product and prove to the world that I was correct, right? So this actually prevents you from being nimble and flexible and being able to iterate. As an MIT trained entrepreneur, I think I approach that more of the product launch more as an experiment. It's still in the process of iterating. So when I launch, I take a small step and to see whether that's what the market wants. If yes, then let's proceed a little bit further. If not, let's iterate. So that's, I think the mindset wise, it has been tremendously helpful. And secondly, I think really the solid approach of building a new venture, of like developing a new product, the entire human-centered design methodology that I'm building a school and a book using it was one big key takeaway that I learned from MIT. It's actually a course called Product Design and Development and many other courses that help me to kind of practice this methodology again and again. So that really internalized into part of who I am and how I view the world and how I do things. I think lastly, it's really this community. Like MIT's community has been incredibly supportive to each other. We are known for this, down to earth, where like our mantra is minds and hands. So it's not only like thinking about what's the best, but also like get your hands dirty, roll up your sleeve, and really go out and do it. And along the way, help elevate other people on your journey too. So I personally was helped greatly by my MIT community in the process of building the school or building, launching my new book. And I try to be that person as much as possible to other people within and beyond MIT community as well.
I love it. And I feel like that is something that you've definitely extended even to me. And I'm not in your MIT community, but it feels like that's just a part of who you are.
Well, thank you.
So tell me more about the book. Tell me more about the new book. How did you decide and what was the impetus for writing Mommy Goes to Work?
Yes. So the entire project actually started about 5 years ago when my older son, now 7, he was about 2 years old. It really, I don't know about your morning drop off, Laura, but mine has been challenging for both of my boys. So the morning drop off was usually, the mom guilt kicked in when I had to let go. They are crying and I had to leave and make it in time for our morning meetings. And it's just this feeling of mom guilt, the separation anxiety of the kids. And I think everything add up together just really set the tone for our days. So that is one thing that's an emotional drain to me. If that's a good drop off, I had a good day. If that's a bad drop off, I live with that guilt. And at the same time, when my kids grow older, I was looking for helpful resources that can help facilitate a conversation between me and them about, what does mommy do after she disappears for the day, right? Yeah. And it's a lot of things we do at work, just it's hard to explain to the kids. So I was looking for, all kinds of books, hoping that I can have a solution, but I really couldn't find anything. So we decided to just create our own. And it's really started with one day when I was making a presentation for MIT boot camp, the meeting that we were. and Jeremy saw me and then he said, "Mommy, what are you doing?" I said, mommy's making a presentation. He said, "What is a presentation?" I said, it's like your show and tell. He started to show and tell at school. And I was like, and he got it. And he started to kind of ask me engaging questions about, so what are you sharing? Who are you sharing with? Oh, it was like fascinating. Like, he got presentation with, if I put it in a framework that he can understand.
Yeah.
So it's really started that day. I started to have this storyline that stuck in my mind of mommy does her presentation, I do my show and tell. Mm-hmm. And I started to think about what are the other analogies that are about things that we do at work that we can use, explain to the kids in a way they understand. So I was like, okay, mommy works on the project, and what is similar to project? It's problem solving. So like I work on my puzzle.
Oh,
so I have
yeah.
this image of like post-it notes and the puzzles, and mommy builds her team, and I think about like what are the things that kids do at school. Okay, I build my blocks because it's usually concrete building up and work with the team, work with friends to build blocks. So from there I started to develop the storyline, and then just with my geeky MIT pride, we tested with over 100 people across.
Oh wow! So you were able to use your MIT trained brain to iterate on this book.
Yes, everything. We tested everything rigorously. I mean, this was before COVID. So we were able to test in the classroom, in the daycares, in people's homes, in the office. And we tested everything rigorously from the storyline all the way to kind of sketch model, and then to kind of the size of the book, right? Like we found like a lot of people want to gift this book. So it has to feel kind of a good size and for gifting, and then good size for big and little hands as well. So yes, we are very geeky in the process and iterate a lot too.
What was your favorite part of that process?
It was really the things that surprised me. I will give you an example. Obviously, the people that I got to meet and reconnect in the process, but I really like the insights that I was able to discover. For example, now the ending of the book is, so the mom and child, they start a day together and then go through a separate day in school and in office, and eventually they reunited. The kid said, "Mommy, I love you," and then the mom said, "Baby, I love you. Together or apart, I hold you in my heart wherever we are." So this was our probably 17th version of ending. It wasn't like this before. Initially, I had something like, "Baby, I love you more than anything in the world." Something like, it's a comparison between, I love you and other things. And then from the testing, we found that moms actually don't like that end. They feel the comparison triggers the guilt.
Oh.
And they feel, yes, that's where the guilt kicks in. And a good way to think about it is, Jeremy loves riding bikes. Jeremy loves strawberry. Jeremy likes to eat strawberry and ride bikes at different times. There's no meaning to compare them. And then so we ask a lot of why, and then clarify a lot of kind of the needs and wants, the aspirations, and felt actually what mom and kid want is the sense of togetherness, a sense of togetherness regardless whether they are side by side or miles apart. But it's really that togetherness that help them kind of that really help them thrive even when they are apart. So that's the reason why we iterate, and then eventually focus on a sense of togetherness.
I love that so much. My boys are 6 and 9, and this year, the 6-year-old, he went to school for the first time, basically, because before he was only in like half-day programs here and there, and then he was home for COVID, so we kept them home for kindergarten last year. And Jossy, I have to tell you, that last page, it is so true. We've used that book. He had higher anxiety than I thought. It was harder for him. The transition was hard for all of us, going back to in person, but we were able to use your book. And and that last page it's so true. The insight that you just shared, this idea of we're together even when we're doing different things, we're holding each other close. And that he just loved that line, and I totally resonate with it. And I wasn't sure if the book was going to be, super helpful because our kids are a little bit older. But it absolutely was.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear. A lot of I think Laura, you talk about what I love most about this. I think it's when the feeling of your creation touches people's heart and touches people's life in a meaningful way was even more magical than I thought it would be. So it was all those feedback about, colleagues who were thinking about giving this to a new mom returning from maternity leave, or my kids went to Bright Horizons, and so the Bright Horizon teachers were actually one of the first people that we tested the book with. They were like, "Oh, this is the must-have in our classroom library. Like, it will be such a perfect book to calm a crying toddler down after a difficult drop-off." And then people ask me, "Is this a children's book? Because it's also very much for the mom." I said, "Yes, it's actually very much for the mom.
It's really for the mom."
Yes, right.
Really
I thought about that too, because a lot of times I think moms has this emotional needs that's often being neglected because we're all busy like taking care of the little one. But yeah, so that's the reason why on my first page it says, "For working mothers, their families, and the people who love them."
I love that dedication. It is so true. It is so true. I love it so much. So as you think about other ways this book is used, what other use cases have you been thinking through? I love the idea of at the daycare centers, those kinds of things. What else are you working on?
Yeah, you know what? We actually just launched a month ago, right? So we started with a very encouraging start on the Kickstarter. We have over 500 people supported our Kickstarter campaign and bring this project to life. And then we made a promise to donate one book for every 10 backers, regardless of how much they donate. So if they donate $1, that counts as one backer too. So our backers enable us to donate 52 books, and then they nominate. So we will take 52 nominated organizations from our backers and donate a book to, library, neighborhood childcare centers and schools. So that'll be one way we give back to the community and connect and support markets, educators, and people in their lives. We are also very interested in exploring delivering those books into the hands and hearts of working mothers through their employer. Because working mothers, like we always prioritize everybody else's needs and deprioritize ours. So there are always priorities and urgent matters at work and at home that needs our attention, and we are usually the last that to be taken care of by ourselves. So it was really my vision of recognizing that, and also through the interviews when we asked moms about their journey of working motherhood, everybody remembers without prompt. They talk about their first day back to work.
Yes.
And if you ask any mom, they will remember, especially their first child, first day back to work, they will remember so vividly and with detail of like, how was that morning?
So vivid.
And
so vivid.
Yes. And a lot of times I think corporate leaders, we might focus on, okay, this mom is a return to work, it's a new start, so let's make sure she has a good start. But we need to recognize it's also an end of a very special time of her personal new journey. It was an end. It's very likely to be the first day after 9 months carrying the baby in the bump, several months or weeks on maternity leave, the first time she is leaving her new baby for, a lot of times in her mind, a selfish reason. Mm-hmm. So that's the end of that era for her as well. And so it's a day filled with a lot of mixed feelings. I think we need to recognize that. And then there is a huge opportunity on the human-centered design process. We call it user journey map. That is a touch point that you as an employer or colleague, you can turn that valley into a peak. So imagine if that's a mom, drop off her child, wipe her tears in front of the door and walking into the office to start the first day. If she only gets all the work stuff, like, this is your new task and your new meetings, without recognizing her identity as a mother, then she is going to feel that she cannot bring her full identity to work, which is not going to help the company as much as she can potentially be as well. So imagine another mom come in and then see a book like Mommy Goes to Work and maybe a soft note from her team on the desk, that fully recognizing, like, we know your life has a new reason at this moment, and we recognize that we're fully supportive in, you being the best of you as a mom, as a person, as a professional. I think that sends a very different message. So that's what we're hoping, and we will be working hard to make that a reality and then deliver more books into the hands and hearts of the moms through the employer.
I love that so much. You're so right. It's a pivotal moment. I still remember my first child going back to work. I'm crying on the way through my commute, trying to hold it together, but not really.
You're not alone. You're certainly not alone.
I know, and that makes me sad that I'm not alone, because it's usually like maternity leave is not long enough in the US, and that's like a whole other thing. But regardless of when it is, going back, you do feel the guilt, right? And you're not there. And so, just think if you did have that as a resource, and how powerful that can be from an employer, that you are seeing that the transition is seen as very important, and you're human, and you can get through this difficult transition. Yeah. So I love this idea of using this book as a tool, as a leader too, for your team.
Yeah, exactly. As a tool. I love the way that you structured that, as a tool to show that you care and to show that you support, and, to delight and really to support your employee who are new moms.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, you were walking me through how you built the book so that in future printings, potentially it can even be customized to like a company. Is that right? Are you still doing that?
Yeah, actually, depends on the quantity again, because I think, we can print small amount as well, but like the smaller the amount is, the higher per unit cost will be. But yes, it's very kind of the places here. We reserve place in the book that can easily insert corporate logos. Even if not in the book itself, we can always design stickers that has "Mommy Goes to Work" at your company name on a sticker. You know what? I think I love that idea so much because I personally, I work when I return from maternity leave. Well, actually, I should say, when I found out that I was pregnant, I was just 4 days into my dream job.
Oh,
It was my
wow.
dream job. I was
Really?
so, yeah, yes, I was
Oh,
at
wow.
day four. Then
Oh my
I
goodness.
was I went through this. I'm going to change the world. This is my dream job. I was the director of product innovation at EF. And then to suddenly find that I was pregnant and I was just 3 days into this job, and I was immediately feel stressful and not sure how do I handle this, like with my boss, how do I communicate this with my team? I was so new. I don't even know whether this place was, I didn't know anyone yet well enough to ask about maternity benefits and all those,
Yeah.
right? So I really hide my pregnancy for 3 months
Oh,
until
wow.
I nailed the big presentation, and I feel that I earned some credibility. I earned the right to start my own family. And it turned out it was totally unnecessary, all those worries, because my team was super supportive. And then my company was actually very family friendly. I didn't know. There was no way for me to know. But thinking about if we have a bigger or, books, a small gesture, as I described, is a combination of "Mommy Goes to Work" with a certain company's name, and a new mom or aspiring mom to be saw that on a leader's laptop or somewhere, then
Yeah.
without saying, they know this is a safe place and supportive place.
Yeah, that is so powerful. And I love that you purposefully designed this book to literally have space for graphics and customization and the stickers and like all of the things. The business angle of this and the scalability of it to get the message out and to make a bigger impact is just
Yeah.
brilliant. I love it.
Oh, thank you so much. I really hope, my hope is, one of my hopes is, now everywhere we see the rainbow stickers and know this person supports diversity. My hope is the "Mommy Goes to Work" sticker become a recognizable way for people to show their support for working mothers.
I love it.
Oh, one thing I'm super hopeful, Laura. When I was going through our Kickstarter backer list of more than over 500 backers, I saw a lot of names who are male names. And then
Awesome.
I love that so much, because initially, before I launched, I thought the majority of people who back this project might be woman or mother. But I'm extremely hopeful and excited to see a lot of men's name on it.
That's wonderful. I love that too. And I think just in general, there are a lot of champions from male leaders.
Definitely.
And even, and that book benefits them as well. Like that's a
Yeah.
great book for everybody to understand
Yeah.
what it's like, because women aren't the only ones dropping off, obviously, but I love the book for families. I love the book for no matter your gender, male, female, non-binary. It's an inclusive book and it's an inclusive lens. And I just love this as a tool, not only for families and for mothers and for kids, but it's a tool for leaders and it's a tool for companies as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And I love that
Love
you've
that.
designed it in lots of different ways to be able to be used and scaled. So tell me more about, so there's one book right now. What are the thoughts as I know you're thinking future, because that's how you were trained and that's how your mind works. So how do you see the book scale in different ways? Mommy Goes to Work. Does she work in different places?
Yes. Oh my God. This is my favorite part, actually, Laura. I wish I could do that all day. No, not just that all day. Well, I got really excited thinking about the possibility of celebrating moms working anywhere they want to be, and then give kids a chance to see what they can one day be. Mm-hmm. So our Kickstarter campaign gives us an opportunity to develop the next book. So now we are having the community to vote for what the next book will be. Mm-hmm. Looks like the higher up several ones. We don't have all the results coming in yet, but the higher up ones on the list seems to be "Mommy Goes to Work at the Hospital."
Okay.
in the White House.
Ooh.
In outer space.
Okay.
So those from the data I can see right now are higher up on there. But obviously in the labs, in the Monica Stewart at the labs is also very popular in the stores and so many places in the military. So I do want to make this a series because I do want to make it a book series that's relatable to moms of different jobs, and then also have kids kind of seeing that and then thinking, oh, like this is what mommy is doing all day, or someone else's mom is doing, and then that's something I can potentially be doing one day as well. So
I love it. It's so great. And I love that you're thinking ahead of just other contexts and how much impact that's going to make with families and future generations. It's a wonderful legacy.
oh, thank you so much.
Can you tell us, how can we find the book? Where's the best place to buy it? And how can we connect with you?
Yeah, definitely. So the books are now available to purchase on Amazon. It's also available on our website, www.womb.us. So I have an interesting story about Womb and US. So Womb is the kind of the brand behind Monica's World Books. And I actually started with wanting to create a book. But along the journey, when I tested with over 100 people, I found, wow, there are so many opportunities to improve on a working mother's journey. So I decided to form a company and take WO from work and take ON from mom and combine them together. It resembles a womb that nurtures babies. So when we envision that to be an incubator nurturing working moms by offering credible insights, actionable solutions, and heartfelt inspirations. So it's going to be an adventure that I continue to use and incubate new ideas and innovate products and offerings. Interestingly, when in the language which my grandma speaks, Taiwanese dialect, it means you and me, it means us.
Oh.
So when in Taiwanese means us.
Oh, wow.
It takes a village. So I have a secret kind of meaning behind this brand name. It's the us. So when people see our website URL, it's like, oh, are you guys only US? I said, no, we're worldwide because working mothers are all wide. We want to support them all. So the womb.us actually means womb us. Doesn't mean it's not only limited to United States.
I love it.
Yes.
Well, I'm really excited to connect and further our partnership. And I'm just so proud of everything that you're doing and so happy that we are connected. And we will put all of your info in our show notes to make sure that others can find you. And just thank you so much for everything that you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much, Laura. And I'm so proud of what you're doing as well. I'm definitely a loyal follower, reader, listener of everything you do. I'm a big fan of you. And and I'm very glad that that one meeting that we met at MIT, we can continue to stay connected and eventually our paths cross again. So I think to me, that's what most beautiful in this journey, like the people that we met along the way and then the wonderful things we can create together.
I agree. And I'm just so happy that our journeys crossed several years ago and that we're still connected. So thank you so much. Buy this book. It is amazing. Tested right here in our house.
Thank you. Or in your company.
Thank you.
I want to thank you so much for listening to the You Belong in the C-Suite podcast. If you are enjoying this content, please remember to rate and review on Apple Podcasts. By leaving a review, you are helping others find this content. We will be featuring 5-star reviews on air in upcoming episodes. Editing and support for the podcast is done by S&E Podcast Management. To get more tips and tools to help you live a life guided by your values, go to thecatchgroup.com. Keep your boundaries and take care.